All right.
Wait for people to kind
May 25th. Start talking.
of sound like you're doing Star Trek. Like,
Start date.
yeah, that's it. Hey guys. All right, wait for some people to jump on here.
Millennial pause.
Sorry we're so late. And this probably, no, this will be a short one.
It will be.
Because we've got a lot to do. We are late because it was Wes's pre-K graduation and celebration and all that jazz. So that's what we were up to. But yeah, we actually do have a lot of stuff to go over, but we're going to get through it, answer any questions, and then we'll jump off. So first things first, order week is coming very soon.
7 days.
7 days. And if you are signed up on our newsletter, you get first dibs. So you'll get to put your orders in before anyone else. We do anticipate that this may be a busy order week because Navy is coming back, the Bettys are coming back, and the Sallys are coming back.
And we are deciding it's likely we won't open up at all for July.
Yeah.
So we might be accepting more orders in June.
Right.
And then not having an order week in July because we'll be going away for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So in order to be able to get everything done before we go on vacation, we'll probably accept a few more orders this round, but then like Nick said, not be open in July at all.
Oh, that was close.
So yeah, if you guys are wanting to get a bag, make sure you get on it because it's likely going to be a bit crazy.
And you said Navy's back, right, officially
Yes.
for June, and so is Sally and Betty.
Yeah, Sally and Betty, so like the little
Big
wallet and the larger wearable wallet, or the larger crossbody wallet.
So also a week from today, we're going to be traveling to Wickett&Craig.
Right.
So we'll be in the car.
Yeah.
Which is why we're canceling next week.
Yeah, so we will not have a live next week, but we are hoping to film as much as we can while we're there so we can share that experience with you guys. We're really excited to go out there and just watch the process and see how the leather gets made, literally. I think it's going to be really fun, really exciting, and just a lot to get into with our sales rep, and it's exciting to meet everybody in person because I feel like we talk to them on the phone and email and stuff, but it'll be good to actually meet everybody and see what it's like. I feel like we're so lucky because one, Wickett&Craig is in our home state of Pennsylvania. Not a lot of people can say that, and not a lot of people get the opportunity to actually go and travel to the factories where their materials are coming from. So I feel really lucky that we get to do that and experience that. So that'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just going to have so many questions for them.
Yeah.
Get ready.
Why? It's going to be an interview process. Yeah.
We are going to be trying out a new thread.
Oh, yeah.
Which is exciting to me.
Do you want to get the cart? We don't have to.
I don't know where it is.
Okay. He's going to get it. Yes. If you are a leather worker, especially one that might use a sewing machine, you might well know that it can be very tricky to consistently get
the color
thread.
you want.
Yeah, the size you want, the color you want, and for that color to be the same every time you get it. So we're really, really excited because Buckle Guy just started carrying machine thread, and you can also hand sew with it as well. But we are going to be trying, this is not sponsored in any way, by the way.
No.
But we are going to be trying those threads with our machine and see how we like it because, like I said, the threads that we've been getting, luckily we've had some good experiences as far as the thread works great, the size we've got has been great, but the consistency is not so great. And so we would really love to have a source that is consistent and we don't have to stress that, colors aren't going to be right. We have a lot of...
We get the wrong color and
yeah.
they don't accept returns, so I have light olive.
Yeah. So a lot of that is being sent to friends though, luckily.
Yeah.
Which is good. Luckily we have a great leather working community and people who, need stuff like that, so it's not going to go to waste. But it is super frustrating when you're like, no, I ordered the right color, you sent me the wrong thing, and they won't take it back.
Or the variation was so great, it's like...
Yeah. So,
anyhow.
and also, it just really sounds like Buckle Guy is focusing really hard on just having like great color options, great standard sizes, and like, I don't know if you guys know this, but thread does have like a shelf life. And if it's sitting there for too long, you can get thread that will really break super easily in your machine and things like that. So I know that they're really focusing on making sure all of those things are not going to be issues. So
you might have noticed that, like, if you're a crafter that has a machine that you don't sew that much, if you get dust on your thread, which happens, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but it definitely can be.
So yeah, but we're excited to give that a try. So as soon as we got the card in, we ordered our colors. That was the other thing that was really great. I think there was just one color that we couldn't like exactly match to what we get already.
Yeah, but they're going to be getting, there was a...
like a dark brown.
Yeah, there's a dark brown they're going to be getting, so I think that's going to match. I hope it's going to match.
Probably.
And then we'll be able to get all of them there.
Yeah, so.
If we like it.
Yeah, and we'll let you guys know how it goes.
You always got to try new stuff, guys.
It's true. You try new foods because they may taste good, right?
Ah, jeez.
Sorry, songs with a 4-year-old. What else?
We are making a little bit of progress on our first kind of like a collaboration with another leather worker to help us out.
Okay, yeah. So
she's like, what are you talking about?
I wasn't sure where you're going.
I know.
So
Neither was I.
yeah, so you guys might remember for a while we were talking about like, should we work with a manufacturer, blah, 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 because, you know, we're getting to a place where we're just getting so many orders, it's difficult for us to keep up with it. So the kind of the talk was like, should we work with a manufacturer or should we, you know, hire a team and start to like build our team and train and all that sort of things. So.
But there's also, to me, there's like a big point between where we are and like the future. So like if we're going to set ourselves up to eventually be a warehouse or manufacturer ourselves, like the gap between where we are now and like a full team is pretty big. So we're trying to
slowly build ourselves
and smartly do that.
And so first thing is first is that if we were to work with a manufacturer, it would have been someone within the United States. Everyone that we had talked to were people within the United States. So that's number one. Number two is we haven't yet found we can't hire people in our home. It's like a borough where we live rule. So
law.
Yeah,
not rules.
A law. And so because of that, and we haven't found a space yet outside of our home that's like exactly what we want yet. So because of that, we kind of came up with another solution, and we've reached out to someone in our leather world, another fellow maker in the United States who we're really, really close with, like really, really close with.
We're friends with him.
Yeah. And he is going to be making all of our crossbody straps for us.
Wow.
Well, what? Majority of them.
We'll see.
Okay.
Nah, just kidding.
What do you mean? I was like, we definitely agreed to this.
We just got a batch in, and they look really great. So,
they do. They look awesome. And it's been a really seamless process. Basically, you know, sent him a pattern piece.
And a sample.
All of like the things that he would need to assemble and make the straps. He sent us a sample back. We were happy with that and just talked through a couple little things, and then he sent us a batch of straps, and they look amazing.
And we get to keep it in the leatherworking community. We get to keep it, you know, with makers, and that's kind of where our heart is in it all. So
yeah, definitely. So we're really excited about that. So yeah, we got the first batch in. We looked him over, talked about it, and sent him another hide.
More leather.
Yeah, more leather, so you can make
next color.
Yeah. So we're just really excited about that. I'm super excited about it because now I don't have to like. I feel like when you make a bag and you get to the point where like, okay, it's time to make the straps, you're like, oh, but I'm so done with this bag. Why isn't it done yet? So it's gonna be really nice to just be able to like grab a strap, you know, finish just like, you know, the attachments of the ending, whichever bag I'm putting it on, and be done. So that'll be great. I think it's gonna speed up our process a little bit.
Yeah.
And yeah, also I think it's a really great way for us to kind of dip our toe into like expanding our team, even though it's like he's not physically here with us.
Yeah.
He's, you know, in our world. We're friends with him in the United States, all that good stuff. So we're excited about it.
Well, we got to relieve the stress in some way from production. So
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah. So
That's the only other thing I think I had on here was we're definitely not getting to Design Week in May.
No.
Sorry. Just joined now.
He did? Oh, we were just talking about you.
I had the same thought today. I just made a strap for my bag and was over it.
Yeah.
We were just talking about our friend that is going to start doing our straps.
Yep. Pretty excited.
Yeah, we're super excited about it.
Very.
I think, yeah, I'm excited. It's going to be good. My brain's a little broken. Sorry. Sweet.
You also don't have music on. Is that messing with you?
It is. I need a little music to like.
Oh, but it messed with the
Yeah,
the
it
things
messes
last
with
time,
the
right? Yeah.
mics.
Got it.
It's all about the mics. What else we got?
I don't know. Did you write anything else down?
I think that was like the gist of it. Somebody had asked about your design process and like how that works and what that looks like and what your inspiration is and all that stuff.
I thought it was about. Was there more than one question?
It was like related to like finding your own design style. Like how do you do that as an individual? You didn't see this because you don't look at YouTube. Sorry, YouTube.
Okay. Got it.
Do you have any videos on how you started your business? Actually, our first live that we started recently, if that makes sense, on YouTube has like our story.
Oh yeah.
Like, at the beginning,
that's
so that's
true.
probably a good point.
Yeah, if you go to our YouTube or even on Instagram, go back like what 3-4 weeks.
It's whatever. Like we just started doing them weekly. Like we have a couple on there before that we just kind of like, what are we doing?
On YouTube. We've been doing this for years.
For years.
Literally.
That didn't work.
Nope.
So the first one, just fairly recent. I'm trying to help you out here. Hey, we're live.
Very funny.
All right.
This one. Right?
No, 427.
Oh.
The first newest one, if that makes sense.
5 lives ago.
5 lives ago.
Including this one.
Do you do any tooling on veg tan? No, we don't. That's just not within our aesthetic it's not where our passion is.
Yeah.
There are some amazing tooling artists out there.
Oh,
and
definitely. Yeah.
We tip our hats to you.
Yes. My current non-existent hat.
So how do you find your own design style? I think we have a little bit of an advantage because we went to school for illustration.
Yeah, I agree
which
with
was
you.
all about finding like
Your style.
your style and how to define a narrative through imagery.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, so like Nick said, in school, the main focus was defining your style within the world of illustration.
You are the best people. I don't know about that, but.
And so what I kind of found was like, you kind of almost have to develop like a little vocabulary list, if you could imagine, for whatever it is that you make. Because you could be finding your style in anything. It could be clothing, bags in this case, or leatherwork, illustration, anything.
Sure.
And it's just about figuring out your little vocabulary list. So.
And what that can mean is like, do you like silver? Do you like brass? Like what kind of wood do you use in woodworking? Like, do you only use walnut?
Right.
And
not that is something that should necessarily completely restrict you.
yes.
It's just like a starting off point, and like as you develop, you might change things as you go, but like
you're gonna develop. That's how it works.
Of course. But you kind of start off by kind of like creating that. So my main focus for our bags is shape. That's like the number one thing I focus on. And it's kind of like all about like the shape of the bag and the flow of the bag, and then everything else is like, I love brass and gold with leather. I think they go really, really well together. Brass is one of like the strongest metals you can have out there. not to mention the fact that like brass is another material that doesn't ever go to waste.
It's infinitely recycled.
Yes. And so there are many reasons why we do brass specifically, and that we don't do other finishes. People sometimes do ask us if we'll ever do like nickel or anything like that, or silver in general, and the answer is probably going to always be no.
The answer is no. She can't say no to things, so the answer is no.
Yeah. So there are certain things that like you can have within your design vocabulary that are going to be there forever, and for us it's always going to be vegetable tan leather and brass hardware. I do like to keep the hardware like somewhat minimal, and same with like our edges too. Like my vocabulary means that I always am burnishing and painting our edges, not going raw edges or just burnished edges are always painted.
And then you can look at like what do those things mean and what do they convey. So like a raw edge would be a more rustic bag. It would be probably geared towards a certain person, and then you can really start like it's all like a web. It's all connected.
Right. And I do feel like I kind of in a way really designed for myself. And so because of that,
Which is a great way to start for most people.
Yeah, and it makes it a bit easier because like I know myself, I know how I like to dress, I know what kind of bags I would like to wear. Even if I wouldn't necessarily wear every single bag in our collection, it's still like the style that would suit me, if that makes sense.
Do you incorporate wood or any other stuff into your designs? You have
We
in the
have,
past.
yeah. Oak. I did oak dowels on
The
Margot bag, which we just very recently discontinued. But yeah, so I think it's about figuring out whatever aesthetic it is that you want to portray in your work, and then kind of figuring out, okay, well, what's the vocabulary that I need, or like the things I would want to do to my bag to get that look out, if that makes sense.
Have you had any trouble with functionality meeting your design? So I'm just going to say yes. I think like a bag is purely function, right? That's the whole point of it. It's supposed to carry something. But I think what Leanne is creating is something as a blend between art and function. And you're always going to be limited by your material in some way, or your machine, or like your capabilities. So I think I lost my train of thought.
It's okay.
It's gone.
Functionality.
Yeah, I think you're always working not against your materials, but knowing the best way to use your materials to get the outcome as close to what's in your head as possible.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
And I also think too that like, you know, in the beginning my bags were definitely more simple, but some of those bags are still around and do really, really great. But as I've kind of wanted to develop, I started doing some interior pockets. Well, I've changed the style of those interior pockets, I think either 3 or 4 times at this point, because I felt like they weren't as functional as I wanted them to be. Because an interior pocket is an interior pocket, right? It doesn't necessarily need to be something beautiful. It's not something you're going to see from the outside when you're wearing the bag. You really do want it to be functional, though. I still wanted it to like aesthetically fit with the bag and not be like, what is this glitter pocket on the inside of the bag or something?
Bags, guys.
Right.
Stop.
But like that is definitely something that I struggled with for a while until I feel like now pretty good about our interior pockets.
And I think about finding your own language, you kind of just have to continually ask yourself of things that do you like it or you don't like it?
Yeah.
And then try to find like, well, I like this, this, and this. Do those things go together?
Right.
And you have to, I guess, be like just self-aware, I guess.
Yeah, the other thing is too, like let's say, okay, you've kind of started, right? And maybe you have 3 designs and you're happy with those 3 and now you're going to add a 4th. So now it's actually about kind of looking at the whole thing as a collection. Does it make sense together? Do they fit together? Do I just have 4 shoulder bags and no crossbody bags? You know what I mean? Like kind of, now you start to like, can have fun with like making things fit and making sure they make sense together.
And it's going to sound wrong, but there's a lot of freedom in deciding, hey, I'm only doing crossbodies of like with this color. Like limiting yourself actually makes it easier to create sometimes. Like a limited palette painting, like you can just use 3 colors, and like you don't have to think as much. But you can really focus on creating something with those materials.
So this question is, so you design from function, not the other way around? No.
No. Sorry.
Definitely the other way around. I definitely design with form first. That is the way that I work. I'm an artist. I went to art school for illustration. I worked in fashion. Like, to me, it's always about making a beautiful thing and then figuring out how to make it work. And sometimes it doesn't work, and I have to scrap an idea, and that's just part of it. But yeah, to me, it's definitely not function first.
I am Japanese.
But it's important.
I know Japanese famous goros. Japanese famous. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, Leanne very much designs, in my opinion, things as art first, and then function. But I think that's also the point.
Yeah, I agree with you. That was a really good question, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's something too. Like I said, like you're gonna also develop. Like when we started, we had basically 2 colors, I think black and
Russet
tan.
and tan.
Yeah, so maybe 3 colors. But now, we've slowly built out our color palette, and we might add to it or mess around with that.
You can also ask yourself questions about like whatever space you're in, like whether it's woodworking, leathercraft, or whatever. Like what is not being done and what is being done. So like to me, in the leathercraft space, there's tons of like square things and like just straight sewn lines. So like the curve to me is very different. And then the structure and the curve and maybe some of the color makes it very, very different. So like how are you really differentiating in your market once you've got your style kind of fleshed out a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Does your design come from a color, shape? How do you find ideas?
Ideas kind of come to me randomly. I mean, I definitely, especially when like the fashion shows come out each season, I definitely do look at them and kind of like try to figure out if there's an overarching trend that I see coming forward, especially what?
So don't let Leanne fool you. She has a really great eye for style, detail, fashion. And when she looks at things and when someone else looks at things, she definitely sees more. Like you see a lot more than I will ever see in that space. And like you're coming at it through like a lens. And like there's a lot of time and effort put into like to learning that kind of language.
That's true. That's true.
So, go ahead.
But yeah, no, I do look at the runway shows because I do think that there's always like big trends that can, not that they should always change the way that you do things, but it's something that you should always kind of like at least keep in mind. Like it could be the smallest thing that like, oh, like blue is going to be huge in leather this year, or like crossbody bucket bags are going to be huge this year, or what, it could be like a relative, you don't want to like focus it down too much. It should be something that's like kind of like a bigger thing that you can really work in.
If it makes sense with what you're doing, incorporate it.
Exactly.
If it doesn't, then don't.
Then don't. Exactly. Right. Like there was a point where like humongous bags were really like they were like a trend, and I don't want to do super humongous bags, so I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm not going to do that.
Do either of you have a background in design, business, leathercraft? Was leather always something that had a place in your lives? Well, leather, no.
Yeah. So the first part of your question, though, is we do have a design background. Nick and I both went to school for illustration.
Can you tell by the glasses?
And then I worked in fashion for about 10 years in like print textiles.
And I have like a perishable business background for 15 years.
Right.
Which is very different, but it still very much applies
It
to
actually
business,
applies
to everything.
Specifically to business, yeah.
Business.
And marketing and stuff like that. But leather was not the plan. The leather came to us, literally. So.
Do you think of your finished pieces as standalones, or does design play with the idea of matching an outfit with shoes, etc.? It's very, to me, she thinks about it as a very functional, in like relation to a wardrobe, like with clothes.
Yes.
It's not. It can be a standalone piece, but it's also its function is part of. It's always going to be part of something. You're not going to put it like on the shelf and look at it.
Right.
even though you could, I guess, if you really wanted to.
Yeah. I definitely imagine my bags like with an outfit. It doesn't have to be something specific, but like a style, I guess, of clothing. I don't care if any, people can buy our bags and wear them however they want, but that's what kind of like helps me
No,
think
they
about
can't.
if a bag makes sense with our collection. It's kind of even like when we did shows, I would style our booth a certain way. And in my mind, I was like, okay, I'm going to imagine that this is my 10 foot by 10 foot little store. And I want to get across the feeling that I want our bags to get across. So I would style it a certain way with, different props and things like that. It's kind of the same thing. I'm kind of always trying to like curate the feeling that I'm trying to get across.
And if you create too many standalone pieces, you won't have a cohesive collection.
I completely agree with you. But at the same time, you do want each piece to like say
Be its own
something.
thing, yeah.
Yeah, like otherwise people might not end up buying it. For instance, like when we first started, we had like card holders and belts and like keychains and things like that, and like they didn't really move, but our bags moved. Like meaning like we sold a lot of bags and didn't really sell too many keychains.
They self-animated.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that would be great. But we kind of realized pretty quickly like our voice was in our voice was in bags, and so we dropped the wallets and dropped the keychains and things like that. Now, as we've gone along, I've always thought in my head, like, I still want to have like a wallet or two in the collection because I feel like it's the obvious thing that should go in the bag. But
there's a very big difference in like when we started making wallets to like see if they sell versus creating a wallet to fit in the collection.
Correct.
So like that's a pretty important distinction of how you can still create something that might be boring, but it makes sense in your design language, and then you can create a market for something that maybe you couldn't before.
Right. And I kind of feel like we almost like had to design and like work within our bag collection first for me to come up with an idea of a wallet or two that made sense with the bags.
Or three.
Or three. No, there's two. Oh, there was three. Just kidding. So I still wanted them to have at least like the same voice and not be like just completely boring like card holder. So like our Sally and our Betty wallets, I'm like really happy with. I feel like they totally fit the collection. Actually, the Betty is meant to kind of mimic the style of our Greta bag, which has been around forever, like since the beginning. And I feel like they like just completely make sense, and they've been doing really well. So I kind of think in a way that also even speaks for itself that they are selling and that people are super excited and interested in them. Do either of you do any other design outside of your business, meaning leather, such as paint, etc.? So yeah, Nick and I both went to school for illustration. So I mean, I did oil painting mostly. Nick did acrylic mostly. No, I'm wrong. No.
I mean, I guess towards the end I was doing acrylic.
Yeah, I guess that's why I think of it that way.
Yeah, that's fair.
As far as like, do we currently do that stuff? Not so much. Like, we don't have a ton of
I can't
time.
remember the last time I painted. I thought about it the other day.
That's funny.
I was like, I want to paint a fish.
But we don't have a ton of time, and I think between having a child and running a small business, there's just not a lot of time to do that. But I do actually find other creative ways to like get other creative stuff out. So like for Nick, I kind of think it's gardening and
Gardening
cooking
and photography.
and photography. Yeah, but photography is also
and like film now.
But that's also still tied into the business.
That's fine.
Okay.
I don't feel it. That way.
And for me, I feel like it's like I do a lot of like DIY and like decorating stuff in our house.
Yeah.
So.
Which I also like to do.
Yeah.
But she does it. I do. I'm not allowed to. No. She's like, yeah.
I ask your opinion sometimes.
I know. I get it. That's fine. It always looks nice anyway. Not like I'm not. There's rarely am I going to really disagree with something you do design wise.
Yeah.
Are any of your bags made using wet molding? How do you manage to create the complex shapes? That's a really, really great question.
That is a great question. So no, we don't use any wet molding. I would love to try it sometime. The main issue for me is that it's super time consuming. We do like have a lot of orders, and if I did a wet molded bag, I would have to, I don't know, maybe have like 5 of the same mold or something like that, so I could do a bunch at once.
It also slows the process down significantly because you have to wet it, you have to mold it and dry it.
And let it
And that's
dry.
like
Yeah.
a solid 24 hours.
Yeah.
And
There's also a lot of waste when it comes to doing wet mold.
That's true.
Because you have to cut a much larger piece of
you need
leather.
an allowance around it.
Right, because you then cut it out. So there's many reasons I haven't done wet molding, but no, nothing's wet molded. Everything is hand manipulated and sewn. So, and I love patterning and like figuring out how to get the shape that I really want through sewing. So yeah, good question though. Was there something else though?
No, that was the last one on over here. Yeah, lots of waste.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, wet molding can be really, really cool.
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's
Definitely.
really traditional, but it's not for us.
Yeah, not right now.
Do you have a wet mold idea in your head?
Of course I do.
Of course, why not?
Why wouldn't I?
Hello, happy to have caught you.
Oh yeah, this is a very weird time. Sorry, everyone.
How did you start? Are you self-taught? We are, yes, self-taught.
Yep.
In every way.
That's true.
We didn't learn leather in school, or sewing. You didn't take any electives, right? We all took intro to photo.
Fibers. Fibers at school was different though. It was very like sculptural.
But did you take any sculpture classes?
No.
We know lots of sculpture people.
We do. I knew how to sew since I was really little though. My mom is very, very prolific in like fiber arts, I guess you could call it, like quilting, bear making. Rug hooking, knitting, all these things. So I did know how to sew.
Any other digital patterns to be released soon? I'm trying to think about it, but no. We're not caught up yet.
Yeah, we have a lot of production to get done.
I have a list of things I want to become patterns.
Yes,
but
we do.
Not there.
Hopefully before Christmas. I'm just gonna
hopefully in summer, because it's got to calm down sometime. Any advice on holiday season orders, like order time cutoffs, etc.? That's a really good question.
That's a great question.
It really depends on like your speed of production. Like last year for us, November 1st was our cutoff, and that sounds really early, but we don't want to disappoint people. Like you never want to say, oh yeah, I can definitely get that to you in a week, and you can't. Then you'll be, at the fury of thousands of pissed off customers, which is not the goal. Like you want to continually build trust with your audience all the time, and that's not a way to do that. So if you know it typically takes you 4 weeks to make a bag, maybe make your cutoff 5 weeks. Like give yourself a buffer so that you can get everything out, you can feel good about it, and then everyone might get stuff early. That's my advice. I think you have to know your process, and you have to know what you can do. Yeah,
I would also suggest like definitely bulking up on your materials ahead of time. Things can sell out, and
that's another good point. Like you have to, if you can get ahead of it, like if you have a slow time of the year to get ahead of it, so that you're produced enough for that, you can accept more orders. But if you're
like summertime, like. I say typically, but like then I also feel like our history has shown otherwise.
Well, this hasn't been a typical year either already. So.
The last 4 years have not been very typical, so it's kind of hard to say. But like normally for a leather maker, like June, July is slower because it's just hot and people are going on vacation and there's not as many trade shows and markets and things like that. There's many reasons why that is. But I would use that time to kind of bulk up on as much as I could on backstock, and that is our like ever evolving plan of like, oh, if July is really slow, we'll like try to make some extra bags, but that
That's always what we say.
Doesn't tend to happen because it's not ever slow, but which is a good thing, and I'm not complaining. But yeah, I would say, if you know a specific time of year that tends to be slower for you, think about what are my best sellers. Can I make some backstock now to have? And I wouldn't go crazy with backstock either because you don't want to have a ton of stuff sitting there that's not selling.
Yeah, anything you've made or even have in raw material is just money that you've spent that you aren't making money on or can't use.
Yeah.
So
it's a tricky thing to navigate for sure.
do you have an accountant to help you with taxes now that you run a business, or do you taxes on your own? So I do our taxes.
Yeah, that might change
It will change potentially
next year
or the following year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely tricky. And that's why I use an accountant, and somebody can help you because they're the expert in that.
Right.
You know, as an LLC, it's a pass-through entity, so like everything is done through you as an individual. So, yeah, that didn't help you. I don't know.
Do you guys plan on making horse saddles? No.
No, that's
that's
like an expert level skill.
Yeah, that not only that, but it is a very specific thing,
Yeah.
and like if that's what you want to do, that's what you do. Like
Yeah. Well, you apprentice normally, right?
yes,
And
yeah.
you
because
there's
the other
Western saddles, there's English
all different
saddles,
types.
there's lots.
But there's also the fact that like the number one thing besides making something beautiful is that it has to be safe for the horse and for the person. And I don't, do not have any experience within that space to even feel any sort of comfortable making a saddle.
I do it as a hobby. Is it hard to make it into a business? So we talk about this often. We do things like as organically as possible. So that doesn't mean we don't set goals and try hard and all that other stuff. But
oh yeah.
But are you setting yourself up for it to be a business, or are you kind of just saying it's a hobby and keeping it a hobby? Because some people are afraid of that success. Because if you are just like happy selling a thing here and there, that's fine. And like if that's what you want to do, that's great.
Yeah.
But if you want to make it a business, you got to structure it like a business, treat it like a business, and some things will follow as a result.
Yeah, and I kind of think you really need to like for real want that. You want to like not just like, oh, my friends and family say like this stuff is cool and they would buy it, so I should make it into a business. Like that's not a reason to go into business.
No.
It is a whole change of lifestyle. So yeah, it's got to be something you really, really want.
And you have to have support doing.
Yes. I also think that if it were just one of us, this business would not happen. Like we both know that.
Yeah. Not even close.
No, there's no way. No.
I would be selling tulips on the corner. 25 cents, sir.
So yeah, it's got to be something you really, really want to be a business. And then like Nick said, if that's what you decide, you're like, actually, I truly do want to take a stab at making this a business. Like Nick said, I would do it as organically as possible. And what I mean by that, like for us, we made like 2, I'd say, big investments when we started. One was our sewing machine because we knew we wanted to make bags. We knew the type of machine we would need and want. And we knew that would just make us faster. Not to mention like sewing machines, like you can also resell them if things don't work out. But
don't get ahead of yourself too. Like you don't start at 100. You got to build it. If you build it slowly, there's a whole lot less risk in just going, well, I'm just going to invest all my money into this and make it happen.
Right.
Which I think people assume that's what happens for a lot of people, but slow growth is how most businesses have existed.
Yeah.
The ones we all hear about are the ones that are like, oh my God, they're making billions of dollars.
Right.
It's crazy.
They made an app and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so we invested in a sewing machine and we invested in leather, like our materials. I feel like that's were our 2 big investments before we ever sold a thing. And then it was just about putting our stuff out there and seeing if it actually sold, listening to our customers, making sure we weren't doing something that was like totally off the wall.
And then you have to verify that with actual sales dollars. Like,
yes, and those sales should not be friends and family.
No.
It's totally fine to sell to friends and family, but they can't be your only sales.
Strangers and weirdos.
Yeah.
Only sell to strangers.
Weirdos. Okay.
Feelings about drops. I like drops. We do drops. We do pre-orders, which are like drops. Not really. No, we don't. We don't do
We
drops.
do not do
But
drops.
I do like drops.
Like we
I
definitely
think
don't
they're
do
a good
drops.
strategy for the maker. Like if I have
Yes and no.
if I have like a want for my product and I make 10 of them and I say products drop in bloom, then you sell them. Great. Like there's a lot of people doing that type of strategy.
There's a lot of people that do it and do it very successfully. It can also be scary though because you essentially are making an inventory and then trying to sell it. So if things don't sell, then you have product that you're sitting on. For us, I just felt like it makes more sense to do it the way that we're doing it. Do I like to buy from a drop? Totally, because I know I'm like buying it and
creates
getting it.
excitement about it too, and it also
does.
creates urgency. So there's
That's
reasons
also true.
people buy, and those
Yeah.
are two of them. So yeah.
Yeah.
Did your website write out a business plan when you're done? Then you'll know if you want to be a business or a hobby. Yeah,
Oh yeah, that's another
mean,
good way to do it.
for sure. There's a lot that can go into a business plan. So if you have that all fleshed out, then you probably want it to be a business. If you have a good idea about those things.
Yeah, yeah.
Did your website domain get more expensive to renew once you started to get more traffic, or did the renewal price remain the same? That's a good question. I haven't seen it go up. We renewed it last, I think, for multiple years. It wasn't like a year-to-year thing. I don't think it should increase, but maybe it will when we're famous. This person wanted to see you working. Not today. It's just question Q&A today.
Oh yeah, this is like a weird live, meaning that it's at a weird time and we don't have a lot of time, so
How
it's
did
gonna
you
be short.
learn to price things?
Typically, I am working while we're
A little
talking.
bit trial and error, a little bit looking at competition, a little bit or a lot of it looking at like material and labor costs and like overhead costs, math, which I love, spreadsheets.
He does it.
So it's really important to incorporate all those things when you're pricing. We've raised prices over the years for many reasons. I mean, the cost of our materials has gone up a lot since we started.
Yeah.
But and then you can't. So you have to think that there's a market for everything, right? So you have to figure out where in the market you want to be placed. So if we wanted to be super luxe expensive, you know, for just like a few people, we could price bags at $10,000, one of a kind. But you know, you would need what 10 bags to sell to make $100,000. So it's all about the business strategy that you want to do.
Right.
Also, obviously, the goods that you're making, are they worth what you're asking for?
Right.
And not just like worth material cost and labor, but worth like perception-wise to people.
I was gonna say, but part of that is the perception of it too, and you have to be able to, you have to be prepared to put that perception out into the world to get the the purchases in if you're gonna sell a $10,000 bag.
And if you want to figure out if that's what your thing is, like go look at a $10,000 bag and see if does your stuff match up to that, right? And then what else? Why do people buy bags that are that expensive? It's a lifestyle. It's status. It's all sorts of things that you're signaling with that purchase.
We don't sell $10,000
We
bags,
don't.
by the way.
But if you want one, we might make one. I'm just giving that as an example.
Yeah.
I always go extremes.
Of course, yes.
But you also have to stay in business. So if you're pricing things to a point where you're breaking even or less, then you're not able to continue. So
Yeah.
you have to renegotiate.
Yeah, I would say the rule of thumb is that most people, especially makers, tend to underprice themselves.
You're famous to thousands of people.
And so just know that going into it. Just know going in, like I'm probably underpricing myself, so like I really need to do some more math and research and like really figure out exactly where my price point should be.
And if you're a handmade good, by definition, you are not a commodity. So do not price as a commodity. You're not a $25 wallet.
Yeah.
You don't have a warehouse of people pumping out things as fast as possible.
Right.
So like don't treat yourself that way.
Yeah.
I just realized this is a rare occurrence that Leanne isn't working in this stream.
Oh, sorry, neighbor. I think. Right?
I hope so. Do you think it's wise to start too low or too high? I think start where you think you should be and then adjust. If you find that you're too low or too high, then you have to change it. if no one's buying your stuff,
Okay, sorry,
it could be for multiple reasons. It might not even be the price. It might just be how you're marketing what you're doing. Because marketing is a huge piece of pricing and like your business. You know, you don't want to, you always need to be breaking even at the minimum. How many hours does it take to make some of your bags, the Bowery or Greta? Greta takes 6 hours. One and done, is my guess. The Bowery probably closer to...
The Bowery's longer.
What?
I said the Bowery's definitely longer.
The Bowery's definitely longer.
Sorry.
Bowery, I'm going with 10 to 12. And that would just be like one.
Yeah.
Not batched.
Yeah.
So, and as your technology changes, so like as you're selling 1 or 3, you're able to batch, like you have to make decisions. Like, does your price stay the same? Does it go down? It doesn't go down. But just because you can do something faster doesn't mean you should undercharge for it, because the value of that item hasn't changed. Thank you for this great Q&A. You're welcome. How did people let you know that they wanted changes when you first started to now? Do you mean like design changes, or do you mean... we got tons of feedback when we did markets.
Yeah, I feel like there's 2 or maybe 3-ish main places where we got feedback. Number 1 was markets. In-person markets, I highly recommend, especially when you're starting, because you do get that immediate feedback. And you can see people, even if they don't talk to you, just interacting with your bag and trying it on, or whatever your item might be. Second was Instagram, like DMs and things here and there, but really not a ton. The other places, we do at least 1 survey a year with our customers, and sometimes it's more than 1, but we get a ton of great feedback doing those surveys. Nick,
I like asking questions.
yeah, he's good at like forming the questions in a way that make a lot of sense and like get us the information that we need to know if we're doing the right thing, making the right sorts of things.
The other part of that is you have to be really passionate about the direction you're going anyway. So like that might change your direction a little bit, but it shouldn't change your overall direction. It should be kind of confirming some things for you.
Yeah.
Or not, and then you can make decisions around that.
Right.
Nice color outfits, like your leather offerings. So this is the Domestica colors.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Which is funny.
Not actually Domestica, but what we wore on the set.
Yeah.
This is a different shirt though.
Is it?
Same color, same company.
Oh, the other one's slightly bluer.
It has a collar too. So
whatever. I don't know. Any ideas about small artistic business loans? If you're in the U.S., SBA.gov, I think, has a good resource. They don't give out loans, but I think they tell you where to get them. My advice for loans is if you're taking on someone else's money, that money has to make you money. It can't just be like for stuff, which doesn't sound weird. It sounds weird, but like if you're buying raw material because you have orders, then it makes sense.
Yeah.
If you're trying to like bridge that gap, like leather is expensive, so if you have to buy 10 hides, that's, you know, almost $3,000. So like if you're bridging gap in inventory, that makes sense. If you're investing in a piece of equipment that you know is going to speed up your process to help you, that doesn't mean just get all the toys you want.
Right.
I think you have to be very smart about what you're using that money for, and not just feel like my bank account's full, let's do this, which is easy for people to do for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering all my questions. You're welcome. Did you price your bags based on time invested in construction or something else? So I don't think we directly incorporated like the R&D aspect of it.
Not when we first got started.
I don't really now.
Okay.
So like I don't go.
Oh, research and
it took her
development.
a week to design this.
Yeah.
But I do obviously take into account how long it takes to make them.
Yeah.
As a bigger business, I'll definitely include like R&D as a line item.
Right.
That's a good question. All right, I think we're caught up. It's been pretty good. I wish you continued success, continue your serious and determined broadcasts. Good evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for joining.
We almost didn't do one today.
Yeah.
But we knew we weren't going to be on next week, so we had to jump on.
Yeah. Speaking of which, do you feel like we should get going?
Yeah, we should probably leave.
This has been a great live, and you guys have had so many awesome questions. I just do want to kind of like reiterate some of the things that we went over really quick. Number one, we are not going to be doing a live next week because we are going to be traveling to go see our tannery, Wickett&Craig.
Yep.
We are going to be filming while we're there, hopefully, so that we can share some of that journey with you guys. We're really excited to go. It's going to be our first trip out to see them in our home state of Pennsylvania. Second, order week is around the corner. So if you're wanting to place an order, one, you can sign up to be on a newsletter. Everyone who's on the newsletter gets first dibs at placing their order.
Oh yeah, I always forget to tell people that.
Because order week, we predict that this order week will be pretty busy because we have some things coming back. Navy will be back. Yeah. The Sallys and the Bettys will be back. You're scared. I'm scared.
You guys love Navy, and I love that you love Navy because I love Navy too.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So we do predict it's going to be a bit of a busy order week. The other thing to note is there's a pretty good chance we are not going to open up orders for July. The reason being that we're going to be away for 2 weeks, and we just don't feel like it's enough time in there to like make it work. So we might accept more orders for June. However, like I said, I do think it's going to be busy, and
If it's too much, then no.
Yeah.
But that's how it always works.
Yeah.
Hope you can share your Wickett&Craig tour on YouTube. We plan on it.
Yep.
It'll probably be shorts. I wish there's no magical way to do this, but like the horizontal versus vertical format are difficult to do at the same time.
Just need to like attach two phones to each other.
Daniel says late live. Yeah, I know, but we're about to leave, so sorry.
Don't worry, we'll save it and you can watch it.
Yeah, just watch it again. Yeah, so it'll probably be shorts because I'll do vertical so I can post it in multiple places easier.
That makes sense.
Hold on, I saw something come across.
But what did I miss?
You two are incredible. If you're ever in New Jersey, I'd love to treat you to lunch. Thank you.
New Jersey.
Those are great points. Did you ever have bags for trying on and touching, and then when purchased, you would provide customers with the actual bag in case oils, hands, etc.? We just had them at markets and like we sold them as they were. I don't think we ever.
Yeah.
Like, occasionally, if something got like marked up and scuffed, we would do like a promo, but like that wasn't often.
Yeah.
He was at the doctor's.
That's all right.
Stop taking care of your health.
We were at
you should have been watching
Wes's
this.
pre-K or graduation or whatever you want to call it, so celebration. So that's why we were late, and that's why this is short.
That's why we're leaving.
But there's a lot of info in here, so you should watch it back.
Yeah, this is a good one. We need to condense them for the future, so we're going to try to do that too. And now we're done. Goodbye.
Good luck.
Good luck. Got too much to talk about.
Okay, I think I went over. Did I forget anything? The important stuff. Gonna not do a live. Order week is coming.
That's it. They can watch it.
Okay.
Have you tried square videos and edit to the format you want? I haven't tried that.
I didn't know you could even do that.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet. But thanks. Good point. Bye.